Hey there. Hi. Howdy. How you doing? This is Rocky Mountain Revival here. Literary podcast, that is. It's another glorious day here in Colorado. It was bright and sunny this morning, then a bit of rain, followed by a mild tornado before noon. It calmed down and everyone came out for a picnic before the blizzard came. Yep, just another typical day here in the Queen City of the Plains. We have a great show lined up for you today. Short and sweet, as I've tried to make the other episodes but failed. It's especially special because this is the first episode with a story that is not my own. Today's story, Charlie's Gift, was written and read by P.S. Cross. This fine gentleman in question is primarily an artist and illustrator, but when the fancy strikes, and when the moon is in just the right phase and the stars in the precise alignment, he likes to dip a toe or two into the story pool. P.S. Cross is a massage therapist and instructor by day, and Tai Chi practicing, martial arts maneuvering, bow shooting, knife throwing, Zelda playing ninja by night. You can find out a little more about Patrick's illustrating work by looking up One Day as a Raven on Facebook and in the Kindle store. One Day as a Raven. Now where have I heard of that before? I'm drawing a blank. Well, never mind. Today's musical guest is a group so secret, so shrouded in myth and mystery that they do not even have a name. At least no name that can be spoken in the human tongue. Rumor has it that the members of this group may or may not include Daniel Grant, Dwight Vernon Forcey, Justin Bieber, and Scary Spice of the late great Spice Girls. So stick around for that. And now, the featured story, Charlie's Gift. Envision yourself in a small donation-based cafe in Denver. Maybe it's hypothetically right off Colfax and York-ish. Maybe its hypothetical real-life name is the same cafe, which if you haven't hypothetically checked out, you should. So there you are. Do you feel it? Do you smell that smell of delicious cafe food mixed with the exhaust of automobiles and the sweat of the city's grittiest street? I hope you do, because it's story time.
Charlie's Gift, written and read by P.S. Cross. It was on a Friday that I met the two strangers who would change a piece of my life. It's something I'll never forget, and to this day I'm still trying to figure out what it all means. Matt's Cafe is where the story starts. Matt's was my usual spot, a humble place, but quality, good food at a cheap price, and good people for the most part, Matt especially. He was always making people feel like family while he served up hot, home-style food for donations. $5 would be nice, but more or less is fine, he'd say, pointing to a little wooden cash box he had on the counter when someone asked him how much to pay. The usual crowd was there that day, students, Capitol Hill locals, some homeless folk who'd become fixtures of the place, everybody chit-chatting and enjoying their meals. Then a young guy I'd never seen before showed up just as I sat down to eat. He rode up to the cafe on a bicycle with saddlebags, whistling a tune to himself. Right away, he didn't seem like anyone I knew. It wasn't the way he looked. I'd say it was more his vibe than anything. There was a sort of pull to him, something magnetic. Nothing like the smell of fresh garlic cooking, he said with a deep breath as he walked in after resting his bike against a tree just outside. Charlie was his name, as I found out when he introduced himself to Matt. "Well, Charlie, what'll it be?" Matt asked him while I listened from my seat. "You know what?" Charlie said. "Surprise me. I always like a surprise, especially a tasty one." "All right then. So where are you from?" Matt asked, making small talk as he dished up a heaping plate of salad, pizza, and buttery mashed potatoes. "Oh, all over, but Kentucky directly." That made me wonder where he was from originally because he sure didn't have any particular accent that I could make out. "You didn't ride the whole way here on that bike, did you?" Matt asked. "Every bit of it." Charlie answered with a smile. Where'd you sleep? Side of the road? Matt asked with his eyebrows raised. Sometimes, Charlie said. Or at construction sites, or sometimes under bridges, or at friends' houses I met along the way. Well, that sure sounds like some sort of an adventure, Matt said, half laughing. Where are you headed to next? Not exactly sure. Maybe down to Taos. But anyway, I'm glad I came through Denver today. That food looks delicious. How much do I owe you? $5 would be nice, but more or less is fine. 5 it is, and thank you, Matt. Cheers, the pleasure's all mine, Matt said, clanking his coffee mug against Charlie's iced tea glass before going back to chopping vegetables. I watched Charlie drop a $5 bill into the donation box and sit down at an empty table with his food. I tell you, to this day, I've never seen anyone look so blissful eating a meal. As I watched him, I wondered what his story was. I tried to imagine a bike ride from Kentucky to Colorado. I could do it, I thought. It wouldn't be easy, and I sure as hell wouldn't want to, but I could do it. My food was getting cold as I sat there thinking about it. I didn't even notice I'd been staring at him until my gaze was broken by the approach of another stranger. This guy I saw in the doorway before the little entry bell even had a chance to chime, and my quills went right up. He felt like an outsider through and through. More than that, he seemed like he was up to no good. Hi there and welcome, Matt called out, his back turned, busy with sizzling frying pans. Come on in and get some food. The stranger said nothing. He looked around with squinting eyes and inched towards the counter with his hands in his pockets. Then, as quick as a flash, he snatched the little wooden box off the counter and made a run for it. Without a second thought, I jumped out of my seat and tore across the cafe, yelling at him to stop and drop the box. Every head in the place turned as I pushed my way out the door. A few yards ahead of me, the thief looked back. I saw his eyes get wide, and then he took off, and man, could he move. I picked up my pace as best I could, a burst of energy, and I was running faster than I had in a long time. I sure as hell wasn't going to let the bastard get away with Matt's hard-earned cash. I chased him up Colfax Avenue, almost crashing into a lady with a stroller, across Vine Street, splashing murky gutter water as I jumped up the next curb, then ran another block, all the while pushing myself as hard as I could with him just up ahead and gaining distance on me. With City Park just 2.5 blocks away, I wished to God that the thief wouldn't make it because I wasn't sure if I could keep up the pace. I hoped he'd twist an ankle or get hit by a car so there'd be no question of me catching up with him and pounding him for stealing from a good man like Matt. But even as he darted across traffic on Josephine Street into the park, not one screeching, honking car managed to inflict justice on him. He was getting away and it made me crazy. My lungs and legs were burning. I could feel hot, electric anger rushing through my veins. Just then, just when I thought it was all over, when I thought I was going to lose him, a strange thing happened. Someone came running alongside me, and when I looked over, I met eyes with Charlie the bicycle traveler. Time seemed to slow almost to stopping as he looked at me, wind blowing through his hair, a grin lighting up his face. For a second, everything went completely quiet. Then all of a sudden, time sped back up and Charlie was galloping ahead twice as fast as me towards the thief. He was so light on his feet I could swear it looked like he was floating. Charlie crossed Josephine a block ahead of me, passing smoothly through traffic, not one car so much as feathering on their brakes. I saw the thief look back. He noticed Charlie coming up fast on his tail. His eyes grew wide again. His face went white. Then he turned and doubled his efforts into the park. I got caught at Josephine, wondering how the hell Charlie got across so easily. I waited a long 30 seconds for a gap in traffic and bolted across when I got the chance. A good 100 yards ahead of me, Charlie caught up to the thief. I expected to see Charlie trip him or tackle him to the ground, but that didn't happen. Instead, Charlie just bounded alongside him like it was the easiest thing in the world. The thief, looking terrified, tried to outmaneuver him, but Charlie kept right along with him, close enough to touch. They looked like two fish in the same school darting away from a shark. I couldn't be totally sure from where I was, but it looked to me like Charlie was having the time of his life. For the next few crazy minutes, I did my best to catch up as I watched the thief swerve around trees and sprint across the soccer fields trying to get away until, finally out of steam, he tripped over his own feet and toppled into a stretch of mud. Charlie came to a quick stop and stood next to him as he lay panting and cursing in the wet dirt. I made it the last 20 yards with my guts feeling like they were going to fall out, then flanked the muddy thief so he couldn't get up and make a break for it. When I positioned myself, he looked up at me, then to Charlie, then back to me with desperate fear in his eyes. He knew he was done. Hopeless. Caught. Justice, I thought. Ha! Shit, the thief croaked. Here, take the box. Just don't call the cops, all right? He tried to give the box to Charlie, who was holding out his hand, but Charlie didn't take it. You can give that to... Charlie started, looking from him to me. Dan, I huffed, still trying to catch my breath. You can give that to my friend Dan here. The thief slowly handed me the box with a sorry look on his face. I took it, ready to kick him in the ribs for almost getting away with it, but I kept my foot on the ground, partly because I thought it would be a nasty thing to throw a kick at a guy who was outnumbered and laying in the mud, but mostly because of the way Charlie was looking at him, like they were old friends or something. I was completely confused. What's your name? Charlie asked, with his hand still out. Look, man, you got the money, all right? Just don't call the cops. I won't. What's your name? Charlie asked again. If you're not calling the cops, then what you want my name for? The thief demanded, rubbing his knees where he'd fallen. Just curious, that's all, Charlie said. Phil, he grunted. Well, Phil, would you like some help out of the mud? Charlie asked, stepping into the goop to reach his hand closer. What the hell you getting at? Phil asked, seeming offended. I was wondering the same thing. Suit yourself then, Charlie said, stepping back out of the mud. I couldn't figure it out. Why was Charlie being so nice to this guy? Shit, god damn it, Phil cursed, still sitting there wiping mud off of his face. Well, Charlie said, looking back at me again, should we get back to the food? You're really not calling the cops? Phil asked suspiciously. Nope, Charlie chuckled. Don't believe so. Wait a second, I blurted. We've got to do something. He's a thief. Oh? Charlie questioned as though it hadn't crossed his mind. Are you a thief, Phil? Phil just looked up at him like he was crazy. Of course he is. You know damn well he is, I exploded. I'd had enough of this nonsense, whatever it was. We've got to... How much is in the box? Charlie interrupted. What? How much is in the box? He repeated, his tone calming me down a bit. I opened the box and looked inside. About $50. Why? Did you think you needed that, Phil? Charlie asked. Huh? I don't know. Yeah, man. Shit, yeah, I need the money, Phil answered, seeming just as confused as I was. And that was the best way to get it? Charlie asked. I don't know, man. I guess. I don't know. Look, man, what the hell do you want from me? Nothing. At least nothing more than you've already given me. What the hell did I give you? What the hell did he give you? Phil and I asked at the same time. Ha! Charlie bellowed with pure glee on his face. Well, I sure haven't run like that in a good long while. It was a great chase, wasn't it? He asked like we should have been thinking the same thing. A good chase? I blurted, my face getting hot again. This guy stole from a good man. He made us run all over the place like crazy people, and you're happy about it? He made you run? Charlie asked me with an eyebrow raised. What? Well, no, but that's not the point. Come on, this guy's a criminal. There's got to be some justice here. All of a sudden, Charlie's mood changed. Justice? He said, still calm but serious. That's a tricky concept, isn't it? As he spoke, he seemed to radiate energy into the air. It was strong and almost scary. I could swear I felt it in my bones. Just as soon as his smile left, though, it was back again, and the air cleared, leaving me feeling strangely blank. Sometimes people just get confused, he said, looking back down at Phil. Here, Phil, he went on, reaching into his pocket, pulled out a crisp $50 bill, and handed it to him. A gift. Though I think you'll find that it goes fast. And who knows? You might even figure out that you don't really need it anyway. That one's hard, though. I couldn't believe it. You're giving him money? You can't... I can do what I like, Charlie said, cutting me off again. And now I'd like to get back to my meal. You coming? Or would you like me to bring that box back to Matt? Well, I fumbled as Phil got up, stuffed the 50 in his pocket, and inched away from Charlie and me. I guess, I continued, trying to understand what was happening. Have a good day, Phil, Charlie said, turning from me to him with a kind smile. Phil didn't say anything. He just turned and ran. Charlie watched him go, and I stared at Charlie in disbelief. Who was this guy? I thought. How could he run down a thief, retrieve the stolen goods, then give him exactly their worth out of his own pocket and let him go? I'd sure never seen anything like it, at least not at the time, and it was damn near impossible for me to accept. But it happened, true and plain as day, and it made me feel strange in a way that I couldn't explain. Coming, Dan? Charlie asked with a smile. Yeah, I guess so, I said. As we headed back to the cafe, I tried to give the box to Charlie. Here, I said, you were the one who ran him down. I would have lost him. You should be the one to give it back to Matt. But he didn't take it. Oh, I think you should return it to him, he said, still wearing that big smile. Besides, you ran a lot harder than I did.
And that was it, ladies and gentlemen. Charlie's Gift. Loosely based on an almost true story from P.S. Cross. Well, let's keep this show rolling with a special unreleased song from an unknown, unnamed band. A band so obscure and secretive that I am not sure they even know themselves. But if they did, as stated earlier, they may or may not be Dwight Vernon Forcey, Daniel Grant, A.J. McLean of the Backstreet Boys, and Carlos Santana. I can't tell you much more about this group except that Dwight has a band Facebook page and a new EP called Note to Self, Whatever. And Daniel Grant is in the Make It, Limber Wolves, and the band formerly known as Electric Thinking Machine, as well as a few other musical projects, and he was heavily involved in the audiobook of One Day as a Raven. There's that young person's picture book again. Where have I heard of it? Anywho, this song is called Drone Lullaby, and it's by the band whose name we must not say. I hope you enjoy.
Pretending I'm not asleep, one's covered by ocean, hills and water falling. And I know this world is not being seen. Sun and the moon combine, everything consumed, fading trees, scattered leaves. Within ill mind kept well, the garden seemed to tell, with their eyes all alive. Da, 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 due east of the winding street, silver stars in the charcoal gleam are the signs in which they lead. Did you happen to catch the cascade? No, did it reach the rocks at the mouth of your cave? It's frequently vague. Dreams stay. Set time.
that's all we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this short but sweet episode. If you did, or if you too have a story that you think should be on RMR Lit Pod, then send it to rmrpodcast@gmail.com. We are also interested in songs, poems, recordings of forbidden ceremonies and prophecies, and really anything audibly delightful. Go ahead, fill up our inbox. I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are, and always remember this haiku. Where do you ride so? One seat empty, pedals still, one man, tandem bike.